Good morning. Today's reading is chapter 6, verses 1 through 39. And man, is it loaded. It's a lot here today. The beginning of the chapter kind of shows the beginning of a ongoing conflict between the religious leaders and Jesus and his crew. And it's really this confrontation of kind of the old way and the new way. The religious leaders want to understand how come the Sabbath in this first part of the chapter is not being honored the way they feel it should be honored, and Jesus addresses that. And I just want to quickly say, as you read the New Testament, as you go through Luke, it's pretty easy to look at the Pharisees and just say, oh, these are bad guys. But what would be helpful for us is to understand that the Pharisees would be the religious leaders, the people that are super religious, that are steeped in religiosity, that they know the Bible great. They can recite verses. They know the law. They can answer all the theological, conundrums that you might come up with. They will have good answers for that. So let's be careful not to just throw the Pharisees under the bus. They are the people that we kind of probably look at and respect the most today. There's a lot of Pharisees today, and it's not even so much that there's Pharisees. We're all Pharisees in some ways, and I think that this is the bigger message of what God is revealing, okay? I did recently preach a sermon that I opened up and I said, hey, my name is Phil Alba, and I am a recovering Pharisee. And I am, okay? And you are too. I can love you enough to tell you that if you are a person who has read the Bible. Now, if you're not familiar with the Bible and all of this is new to you and you haven't looked down at people because of what they don't understand, well, then maybe you haven't suffered from Pharisaism. But I could pretty much promise you that if you studied and read the Bible and let it transform you, the seed of the Pharisee, or the yeast of the Pharisee, as the Bible refers to, it will emerge within you too. So let's just be careful not to easily just classify these as bad people. Let's read into who they are and how they act and identify, is that us at times, and how do I weed out the Pharisee that lives within me? Okay, so I just wanted to say that. The other part of the chapter is that Jesus finishes calling these unique 12 men, these disciples that are going to turn the world upside down. And it's interesting that after he assembles the group, he goes up and he preaches a sermon. I'll call it an anchor message, meaning it's a message he preached again and again. Jesus was a traveling preacher. And the Sermon on the Mount, as it's classically known, is his most powerful and repeated sermon, probably through his ministry. If you want to take it in I think the most beautiful way, I think Matthew's account, which you can find in chapter 5, I think it's verses 1 through 7, or 1 through 8 is the actual message. And if you read through verse 15, it Jesus kind of explains it. It would probably be helpful. I think it's the most straightforward account of the Sermon on the Mount. But this is Luke's recounting of this anchor message, and it is disruptive. So when you get to the latter part of the reading today, if you are saying does Jesus really mean this? Or if it's just colliding in your brain that this is upside down and it doesn't really make sense, that's okay, because it is really disruptive. Let yourself be disrupted by it, because Jesus is talking about the values of his kingdom and how they are in stark contrast to the values of our kingdom. So let it disrupt you, take it in. And again, I can't encourage you enough to refer to Matthew chapter 5 and read that account of the Sermon on the Mount as well. I would say this message is it is the most discussed and talked about message of all the things Jesus said in the history of humanity, which kind of gives recognition to just how powerful and disruptive it is. I love you guys. Lean in. Make it a great day.